Hello nerds and nerdettes, welcome back to the channel, where once again we have a new review for you guys on not a recently released but a recently read title for yours truly, which is none other than Papergirls by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang. A very exciting title, especially one that I didn't really think I was going to finish, but got the rest of the volumes in some recent hauls, so decided to finish it up and pump a review out for you guys. But as always, before we jump into anything, we have a little bit of housekeeping, as well as our typical spiel. First and foremost, I do want to thank each and every one of you guys for all of the love and support while I was traveling. I know we missed Wednesday's video, just really was having a lot of trouble getting back into the routine of life. I'm sure you guys know how that feels. So I wasn't able to film on Wednesday. This is my first video back. So pardon some of the rust if I have any. I'm trying to kind of shake it off and get used to kind of my way of doing things. And also, if you are looking for any of these books, to head on over to the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Use that discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order. It helps out Organic Price Books as well as the channel, and you guys have really been showing out with the support and using that code. Without you guys tuning into the videos, using that code and everything like that, I mean, I really don't know where I would get the drive or ambition to continue on. YouTube's definitely difficult, especially coming from somebody that literally knew nothing pertaining to YouTube or filming, and you guys really helped me with that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Every day I see those referrals and the orders and everything like that, and my jaw's just dropped. So really appreciate that. But enough rambling. Let's get into the review. Sorry, little, I guess, behind the curtain there. But so Papergirls is collected in 3 hardcovers. At least that's the way I collected it. It does come in a paperback compendium. There's my phone falling as usual. It wouldn't be one of my videos without that. Each one of these hardcovers has a cover price of $34.99 and roughly a page count of 320 pages. You're not looking at a huge difference in page count between the 3 volumes. The 3rd volume having a little bit more pages because of the extras, but really it's around 320 give or take between the 3 volumes. This is not something that I've fully completed. I've read a couple issues here and there, never really finished it until the Amazon Prime TV show came out, and then decided why not dive back in. So I got these in recent hauls, as I said. So we will be making a little bit of a comparison during the overhead shots between the Amazon Prime show and the book, as well as the reading experience overall pertaining to the writing and art. But we can go ahead and jump to that now. And here we are, Papergirls in the Deluxe edition, obviously starting with book 1. Each of these volumes is absolutely beautifully designed. We do have a little bit of a wraparound cover in this kind of hot pink color. I guess it would be hot pink. A lot kind of pertaining to the story that you're not even aware of yet, and it's absolutely awesome. But getting right into the first volume, we do have a beautiful end page with a very interesting color palette, which is something that you're going to notice with the story overall, that the color palette used very much lends to the overall vibe, as well as even the storytelling in some aspects, but we'll get into that later. Flipping to, obviously, the title page, and then to the creators page. Very beautiful splash page. And then following that, we do get right into chapter 1. Following each kind of introduction to the chapters, you do have a kind of splash page of original art, typically with the main characters or one of the main characters, but still really awesome. And then we get right into issue 1, introducing us to the main character that I would probably say is supposed to be the character you identify with the most, which is Erin. Erin is kind of the new girl, the girl that joins the gang of Papergirls. But other than Erin, we do, of course, have Mac, Tiff, and KJ all playing a part in the story, all being main characters in their own regard, but Erin being a little bit of more of the main character if I think of the focus of the story itself. Essentially, the synopsis of the story is it's the night after Halloween, and which I believe is called Hell Night, something I learned from the book, was not aware of. But it does pick up with Hell Night, the wrapping up of Halloween, Papergirls kind of doing their route during the morning after, and witnessing some very much sci-fi events taking place. It's pretty cool how easily it jumps into the storytelling. You would think there would be some form of build-up, but in all honesty, it really jumps right into the story, and you get some pretty adult themes kind of explored here. You definitely have some differences in characters and how things kind of play out pertaining to the show and the comic book. Mac in the comic book is very much more vulgar. I feel like she did come across as slightly toned down in the show, probably because of airing issues and everything like that, but still, in the show, she is definitely a character that you are not a fan of at first. She definitely says some fairly triggering remarks pertaining to race and sexuality, but her story does come full circle, and that's why she's probably one of my favorite characters in the book itself. You also obviously have some callbacks to themes of each era that they do travel, because there is a time traveling aspect to this story, very similar to the show. The best way I would describe the overall vibe of the story is, which Mitch, Omnibuddy, hate to steal your way of describing it, but it does feel a lot like Stranger Things meets Goonies, which is probably the best way to kind of describe it. But overall, it's a lot of fun. You do get extras in each book, Volume 3 having more extras than the others. Picking up with Book 2, this is probably my favorite cover of the 3 volumes. I don't know if you can see the way the light bounces off that. But getting right into that, very similar layout. But yeah, overall it does have very similar vibes to Goonies and Stranger Things, so if you are fans of books, stories, comics, shows in those kind of vibes or feels, then you are probably going to be a fan of this title overall. I do feel like the characters are fairly relatable. The only aspect of them that I feel like is somewhat not relatable is going to be the intelligence level of these young girls. I definitely feel like when I was their age, which maybe it's because I was a boy, but I was very, very unintelligent and definitely did not speak or think the way that these girls did, and I don't think I knew anybody that did. So that's probably the one kind of aspect that I do feel like comes off as a little unrealistic, is just these young paper girls really wrapping their heads around not only time travel, but the concept of it, how it may or may not potentially work, and everything like that. I feel like if I was 13 years old being thrusted into a time-traveling situation, I'd probably be dead in a matter of moments, but maybe I was just a stupid child overall. Some other aspects that play out fairly different pertaining to the storytelling between the show and the main focus of the comic book are some of the events, such as Aaron being shot, which happens in both the show and the comic books, but does happen very differently in the comic book, as well as meeting the future Aaron. That does play out very differently, especially pertaining to a different character that they meet in the future, not Aaron. Trying to obviously be as vague as possible there, not to give away too many spoilers. But also pertaining to this scene here, which was actually my favorite scene from the show, using giant robots. Well, it's very much different during this comic book. It's still probably just as entertaining, if not more, but it definitely plays out fairly different. It is a blast. Volume 2 is probably my favorite volume out of all these volumes. I do feel like it falls slightly flat in Volume 3, my personal opinion, but I do very much enjoy this volume. I was on the edge of my seat, especially coming to the end of it, and really being able to dive deeper into each of the characters overall kind of mission to complete, as well as their own individual kind of goals that they're trying to find out, obtain, do, whatever it may be. And then, as I said, this book also has some extras. We'll jump to the third book. Here we are with the third book. Very similar aesthetically. This is probably the volume that I would say is a little bit of the unloved child of the three. I feel like this volume starts extremely strong, especially pertaining to KJ, Mac, some romantic relationships that do get explored. But then I do feel like about the halfway point, it kind of falls off. And when it does come to the ending of the story overall, I do feel like it does not end the way that I would have enjoyed it to end. Now, I do understand that that is some idealism getting in the way there, but I feel like by the end of the story, you do end up going full circle. Everything that happens kind of ends up not mattering in a way, at least to me. Not to, again, give any spoilers at all. You will probably have a completely different experience with the ending. I may just be a stupid reader, which is probably the case, but I just felt like it ended up kind of not mattering overall, and I definitely like a little bit more weight to the things that happen in the comic books that I read. But overall, the ride was definitely a blast. It was so interesting to not only read Brian K. Vaughan once again, since reading Saga, honestly, was probably the last time that I really read works of his, even though he's one of my favorite writers because of that title alone. But Cliff Chiang absolutely knocks it out of the park in this book. The stylistic way that he explores these time periods, these worlds, the character designs, the way he makes it realistic yet cartoony at the same time. There's points where he doesn't draw the eyes, he kind of just gives dots to show excitement or confusion, and I think it is such a simplistic yet nice touch that I feel like doesn't happen much in comics these days unless you're reading something that is meant to kind of be portrayed as a cartoon. And I think it is absolutely awesome to kind of experiment and dabble with your art and the storytelling aspect of art in general, and he hits the mark in my opinion. The color palette throughout the book kind of giving off that you're in a different time period. Each time period that these characters jump to or end up in, or whatever the story may pertain to, is each a different color palette, which I think is such an interesting touch. It really kind of gets you into the mood and vibe of the era that they're in, and it is absolutely awesome. Pertaining to kind of the ending overall, I don't want to touch too much pertaining to the panels and kind of that era of the book, so we will flip forward somewhat. But one aspect of this book, which I think is absolutely awesome, is the extras. So obviously you do have some standard extras that are in each of the books, such as covers and things like that, but this volume in particular does go even deeper, which I think is even cooler. So you do have some kind of concepts of things in the background, some, I guess, original art, even some t-shirt designs, and then this is where it really gets good. So you do actually have a full breakdown of the language that the futuristic teens, young people, whatever you want to call them, do speak throughout. You do notice that they speak a completely different language. There's honestly a lot of different languages that kind of take place. There's a kind of emote style of speaking for the future. Then you have young people of the future that kind of speak in another language like this, and you get to see the way that they went through the process of creating this language. They even give you a full-on way to decode the speech bubbles that those characters are saying, which is awesome. And then you also have, even down to the title of Papergirls, the Inspiration, Purple Rain prints, you have Sassy, all of these fonts used to then be used on the title of Papergirls. Just so much thought going into every aspect of this book, and I can't help but appreciate that. But that does wrap up our overhead portions, so we'll head back to the table for some closing thoughts. And welcome back. So, as usual, I did enjoy Papergirls. I do feel like it lived up to the hype 90% of the time until that ending. The ending kind of missed the mark for me overall, but the reading experience in totality I very much enjoyed. I feel like the art very much lended to the storytelling that Brian K. Vaughan was doing. They worked very symbiotically with each other, and that's very hard to do. I also very much enjoyed the extras, which typically I'm not a huge fan of extras. I know that's probably a hot take, but I'm much more of a content. I just want to read the comic, the story, and I really just do omnibuses not because of the extra, but because of the oversized format. But these extras were a lot of fun to just see how much thinking went into the story in general, the character designs, the font used for the title of Papergirls, everything like that. It really just kind of tickles my fancy to see someone putting that much time, that much effort and love into something that they're producing. So I very much enjoyed that. I also very much enjoyed the characters. I'm a sucker for characters that you either love at first and end up hating, or hate at first and end up loving. Big fan of character depth and character changes and everything like that. And the character of Max specifically goes through some drastic character changes. She probably had the most interesting character arc throughout the story, and probably the character I enjoyed kind of learning about and seeing their story play out through the panels. The character I probably connected with the most was probably KJ, just because she was an athlete and very somewhat relatable in the way that she viewed things. The two issues that I did have, as I touched on, was obviously the ending, but I also did have a slight issue with just how intelligent these young girls were at this age. Thinking about myself when I was that age, I was probably dumb as a doornail, so it is hard to imagine girls or guys, anybody this age, to be able to think the way that they were thinking and communicate the way that they were communicating. But overall, I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed the art, more than I actually thought I was going to after initially starting the series. But the rating that I'm giving it, overall, the series is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. I very much enjoyed it. I think if you enjoyed the TV show, this to me, even the first volume, which is roughly about the first season of the TV show, give or take, is astronomically better, in my opinion at least. So if you did enjoy the TV show, give this a whirl, try it out, see how it feels. And also, just Brian K. Vaughan is such an amazing writer. He struggles with endings sometimes, but I feel like this title is so slept on. Other than probably Pride of Baghdad, this is probably the series I don't hear people talk about that much, at least in my experiences. Obviously, it got a show, so it is fairly popular, but nonetheless, check it out. Let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious. And that does wrap up today's review. Thank you so much for watching and all the support. Once again, just really want to reiterate that. Never in a million years expected to have a community like the one that we have and the one that we are building together. So that is just, once again, just breathtaking to be a part of. But if you did enjoy this video and you want to be a part of the community, then hit that subscribe button, join the Illuminati. It's an amazing community with amazing people. Also, if you enjoyed that video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the algorithm. And if you want to look out for even more content, then do yourself a favor and hit that bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I put out content. Hopefully I'm done stumbling over my words. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video. And of course, stay nerdy. That was a bad one. Where's